G'day, Agent Mahara here again. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do and hit the notification bell. And then you won't miss any of the uploads. There'll be videos like this. There'll be more podcast episodes coming and maybe some audio quote videos or whatever that's called. More on relationship dynamics between people with BPD and codependency. You only need to relate to one. You only need to have one that's true for you in your life. Seriously, most people have more than one sort of codependent trait or symptom, for lack of a better way to put it. But it only takes a few for you to end up in these relationships, get spit out the other end, lose yourself. It's the embracing of what codependency actually means. And I mean for you, each and every one of you as an individual in your life. Because there's no one prototype, everybody's a codependent the same way. Not at all. Not to the same degree, not with the same sort of, quote, symptoms, traits of codependency. You need to stop selling yourself short because you think that codependency means you're weak or something. It doesn't. It means you have some woundedness you're carrying from childhood. For some people, that's hard to ascertain what it is. If you're curious, if you resonate with me, you want to work with me, you can start your healing and recovery journey the minute you decide to. This follows the video, so if you're watching this video now, just a second here, yes, let me make it make sense, right? So this is going to be a response to the same commenter as my previous video called BPD Relationship Dynamics, Codependence, quote, not taking it, unquote, fighting back, question mark. The second video is not exactly the same, but responding to the same commenter who commented, so the other video is he commented on my video, BPD relationships, the cost of loving a borderline is loss of yourself. And this comment in this video, which is a question about, can you be considered a codependent without, say, having all the codependent traits? This is something that a lot of people are confused by and wonder about. This comment was left on the video I did. Sorry for this preamble. Borderlines use you. They do not love or attach to you. Well, I'm going to hide behind the mic. I don't think it's possible. Just saying. Trying to just... Okay. So the commenter says on this video that I just mentioned, borderlines use you. They do not love you or attach to you. Commenter writes, can I be codependent without the strong need to do things for others to be loved? Because I tend to be secure and independent in the relationship. And then they put in brackets, I'm not jealous. I have my hobbies. I can communicate my feelings and listen to my partner. I prefer openly dealing with problems than letting it fester. End the bracket. Or is it just a normal thing when you break up with a borderline to feel a deep sense of loneliness? Interesting. Codependent denial. Again, by this person. Now, I really hope you will, if you haven't seen my last video at the time of this video, I hope you will go back and go and watch maybe that one. It's called BPD Relationship Dynamics, Codependence, quote, not taking it, unquote, fighting back, question mark, okay? So if you're watching this one and you haven't seen that one, you might want to go watch that one first. It might help you out with what I'm going to say here and the context of this one commenter with the two comments on different videos. So have you ever wondered, can you be a codependent without the strong need to do things for others to be loved? Well, based on the many comments I've seen by this commenter on other videos, not just the other one that I responded to, I would say they're in a lot of denial, or at times in a lot of denial. Maybe it's fleeting, maybe it comes and goes, about the fact that they, I would say, based on what they've described, being in a relationship with somebody with BP for 2 years, etc. Yeah, they probably have some codependency, but they're denying it still or questioning it, which lots of people are denying it, even after BPD discard, BPD breakup, however it ends, and all that agony, and you're like, but I don't think I'm a codependent. But, I'm out here to work with people, resonate with you on helping you to examine that question. And whether you're still in the relationship or you're out of the relationship now, and maybe it's just been days, a week, a month, maybe it's 8 months, maybe it's longer, maybe it's a year, maybe like this commenter, it was 2 years ago. But this commenter is still watching BPD videos like I do here and about codependency. And yeah, sometimes I look at other channels' comments here and there, and I've seen him on a couple other channels as well. So he's really out of a relationship with a BPDX and still lost, because my guess would be he may well not have sought any treatment yet. That's how important seeking your healing and recovery journey with somebody who's an expert in this area like I am, if you resonate with me, out here to work with you. Obviously, I do not resonate with everybody. Nobody does. The question is, can I be codependent without the strong need to do things for others to be loved? Yes is the answer to that, because the definition of codependency does not rest on, although this person is in denial about the fact that they are doing things. They did do things for their BPDX to be loved, okay? But even if one really doesn't believe that, and you don't feel like you're doing that, or maybe somebody out there isn't doing that to be loved, yes, you can still have codependency, because there are a lot of, for lack of a better word, traits, and not everybody aligns with every single thing, right? That would be an indicator of codependency. Then the commenter says, because I tend to be secure and independent when in the relationship. Well, they might well believe that they tend to be secure and independent when in the relationship, but at the same time, they're asking, could they still be a codependent? Well, yes, because there's codependent denial from this commenter. And I've read a lot of their other comments, by the way, so I'm not just basing this on one comment. But they're saying, how can I be considered a codependent? Am I a codependent? And then they say, because I tend to be secure and independent when in the relationship. Well, that's a little incongruent, isn't it? Like a little bit like it's denial. So then they go on to say, I'm not jealous. Okay. Codependency isn't all about jealousy. Lots of people have codependency and are not really jealous type people. I have my hobbies. That's positive. A lot of people with codependency get isolated in these BPD situationship relationships. And that's how you lose yourself too, as well as other ways. And a lot of people with codependency really then abandon their hobby. But if this person is still adhering or doing his hobbies, or was when he was in the relationship, well, that's good. It doesn't rule out codependency, though. And by the way, you seriously really can't have a secure attachment style and stay with a borderline, as this commenter did for 2 years. No, it doesn't work that way. So he feels he's secure and independent when in the relationship. Not jealous, has his hobbies. And here's a really interesting thing. He says, I can communicate my feelings and listen to my partner. I prefer openly dealing with problems than letting it fester. Well, what's going to happen, or what's been your experience if, like the commenter, you really like to deal with a lot of codependents don't. They try, but they're kind of afraid of what they're actually feeling, so you focus more on the other person to please them to get good feelings back about yourself. You might have negative core beliefs about yourself so people with codependency often can't validate or hold their own self-esteem and self-worth internally without getting it from someone else. This is what sets up people with codependency to be extra hurt even in trying to work so hard, give so much, love so much a borderline who really, more often than not, especially after the first major split to devaluation, and before, there's no mutuality, no reciprocity from people with BPD or NPD for that matter. So you're not going to get your needs met no matter how hard you work to or how many jade conversations you try to have with them. That's you justifying, arguing, defending, and explaining, because they won't be responding to anything that you try to raise, and especially when it's about how you feel, because they just then feel attacked. And what kicks in for them is fear of abandonment. etc. And that happens all unconsciously for them often. This person says likes to communicate his feelings and listen to my partner. But here's a key thing, and you may or may not relate to this, right? He says, I prefer to openly dealing with problems rather than letting them fester. Well, it's probably something that a lot of people with codependency, or a lot of people in general in life, would rather deal with their feelings, want to know how the partner's feeling, want that mutuality and reciprocity, which is what's healthy in, not in a cluster B relationship, not in a relationship with a borderline or narcissist. But the fact that this commenter, this is what I really wanted to make a main point here about, is this commenter is saying, am I codependent because I'm independent, I'm secure, I have hobbies, I like to do this, that's all well and good, but yeah, it doesn't negate codependency, because this would be the sticker, probably the really sticky point about how in the previous video I did from this commenter, I'll just say this one part here, where he said, I don't think there's enough videos for those of us who fought back and reacted in ways we never thought we would or could. I have never gotten so mad so often at someone I loved in my life. And then they also said they were a complete a-hole, acted like a complete a-hole to a 5'6" 135-pound BPD woman for 2 years. So now in the next comment, it's like, where did all that go, right? Kind of being denied, kind of, 1 minute people write comments about one thing, then the next minute they're contradicting themselves because you're confused and you're hurt. And this man is 2 years out of the relationship. Or I think so. Said the relationship was 2 years, but still. So I'm not positive about that. But it's the very fact that this commenter is saying, can you relate to this? Let me know in the comments. Have you experienced this? Are you going through it right now? You want to communicate your feelings and or have your borderline partner or borderline parent or whoever the borderline is in your life. You want them to hear you, of course, right? And you want them to communicate when you communicate about your feelings. But they don't. If you like to communicate your feelings and listen to your partner, and you prefer to openly deal with problems, in other words, you want to solve it, you want to be rational, you want to talk it through. Borderlines don't know how to do that. Narcissists don't do that. So you're going to be doing this to the Jade conversation. Like I said, justify, argue, defend, and explain. This person with BPD is going to be dancing as fast as they can away from whatever you mention and you're talking about, to accusing you of other things, or just not talking to you, or starting to barrage you with a lot of name calling, or but you did this and you did the other thing, and how dare you say this to me, and I'm you this, you. That's what happens in that communication. So this person, maybe you're someone like this commenter in this regard, with somebody with BPD, likely having some codependency yourself, whether you know it or not, because people need to really kind of get working with someone, many people do, to kind of go, well, yeah, I don't really think I'm a codependent, but I don't. And then we can have the conversation, we can do the work, we can really examine that. So when I work with clients, I do that with people who aren't sure what's going on, like so many of these commenters aren't sure. So again, out here to work with you if you resonate with me. Now, what is the point in building to, and maybe taking too long, sorry. If you're like this person, this man with codependency, even though he says all these other things that he believes to be true, that might be partially true, but they're obviously not 100% accurate in his life, or he wouldn't have been reactionary and fighting back every step of the way with a borderline partner at the time he was with her, and now feeling guilty about that in the present. So the thing is, do you like to discuss your feelings, or at least be heard on how your feelings were hurt, and what you're feeling in response to something that the person you're with, who happens to have BPD, or maybe you don't know that yet, or whatever the case, and you would rather deal with feelings and kind of make things feel better again, and have that repair, which is like a healthy want, a healthy thing to try to do, but it's hard for people with codependency to really do it, and people with BPD can't do it. Do you, like this man, really want to deal with your feelings, deal with the episode, deal with the situation, deal with why is the borderline yelling and screaming at me now? Why are they giving me the silent treatment? What just happened here? I don't know what's going on, but I want to talk this through because you want to feel better, because you're feeling awful and you want to be understood and heard, which doesn't really happen with most people with BPD, if at all, or very often. If you're like this commenter, then what's going to happen? You're going to be frustrated, incredibly frustrated, into the roller coaster of chaos and drama and arguing and maybe even being really reactive to them, etc., which just won't help you out. It'll hurt you more. I'm not being judgmental. People are human. And we're not negating what people with BPD do and how they don't have these communication skills and how there is no mutuality and reciprocity. So if you're really invested in talking about your feelings, what just happened, trying to resolve a situation like this person is describing in his comment, then do you know? You might be well aware in your relationship right now, or it might be after you might have been discarded or ghosted, or you might be in a recycling relationship thing, or you might be sitting there with Hoover Hope, and you might be doing reverse and stealth reverse Hoovers, and you want them back, etc., because you know it's got to work somehow. And no, it doesn't, unfortunately, because you're trying to control something. This is what codependents do. You're trying to control something, not like in a big, horrible control way, but people with codependency are left feeling helpless. Helpless and powerless, which you might not connect to those feelings right away. You're like, I don't feel that way. But when you can't get heard, and when you're not being seen, and what you want to talk about, and the feelings, and what's going on with the borderline, no matter what iteration of relationship, situationship you're in, out of, or it's over, but you're still suffering with all this. It's going through your head all the time. You can't think about anything else. Well, so this person's asking, can they be a codependent without the strong need to do things for others to be loved, and because they want to talk about their feelings and resolve things, they don't like things festering and all of this, and they have hobbies. Well, when you're with a person with BPD and you're trying to do this communication, it's not that it's unhealthy on your part to try to do it, but people with BPD can't meet you there. It becomes really frustrating, becomes what drives the roller coaster ride of chaos and drama, and maybe them ghosting you or discarding you and coming back, and the recycling, because you can't solve anything with them and you can't get heard. And maybe sometimes they go, okay, I'm sorry, I don't know, like I didn't mean to do that, but they don't have any understanding. It doesn't change the behavior. And even when borderlines get a little bit of like intellectual or IQ awareness, and they're like, oh yeah, I can see what you're saying there, they've bleeding, and all change and healing for people with codependency or people with BPD, etc. It has to be a balance, but largely comes from the emotions, healing emotional things, emotional wounds. Nobody recovers from their intellect alone, and a balance, you work toward a balance. So, do you really like to have things worked out? Do you like to know where you stand in a relationship? Those are healthy things. But people with codependency, instead of going, whoa, I'm not getting this here, you fight harder and harder to get it. And it just gets more and more elusive. And it hurts more. And the arguments are longer. And you're exhausted. And then the borderline has their responses back. And then maybe they wake you up at 3 a.m. because they're still all dysregulated. And how dare you do whatever you did, because you wanted to talk about your feelings. So I think that this is a big major thing that a lot of people go through with people with BPD in any relationship type. And this person is showing why he was so reactive, as in the other video, if you want to watch that, like I mentioned in the beginning. And I read a part of that other comment, because he was being so reactive and fighting back all the way against the person with BPD he was with. Why? Because he has hobbies and he's secure and he's independent. And no, it's because he likes for feelings to be dealt with and things not to fester, and he wants to know where he stands. And that's not all codependent. But then when you keep trying to get that or enact that process with a borderline, it is codependent because you're trying to change them to be able to do what it is you need, and understandably you need it and you want it, but you can't make them give it to you. The rest of this then is, or is it just a normal thing? There's nothing normal about all this, ladies and gentlemen, but what is normal anyways, right? Normal doesn't really exist. Normal's like if you and 6 friends think what you're doing on a Saturday night, card game, thing, whatever, that's your normal, that's normal. You've all agreed it's normal. But maybe 6 other people go, I wouldn't do that if you paid me. That's not normal. You know what I mean? So we can't really, normal doesn't measure anything really. But the commenter does say, or is it just, quote, normal, unquote, a normal thing when you break up with a borderline to feel a deep sense of loneliness? Well, I can't call it normal. I can't say everybody that is discarded or ghosted or breaks up with a borderline feels, maybe in the beginning, but it struggles with loneliness in a deep way. Many people do to varying degrees. And that can be a part of codependency, but it's also part of a breakup, etc. And the other part of that is that not all people with codependency have difficulty being alone. And it's not only the codependency that would lead to these deep feelings of loneliness. It's all that you've been through. It's how you've lost yourself. It's the agony you're in. And it's how hard you tried to fix and change something so that it would work for you, and it didn't work. And now you're lost, you're disillusioned, you're confused, you have cognitive dissonance, you're ruminating, etc. Because wait a minute, in the beginning, this was the woman or the man of your dreams, and you knew that because you thought they were who they seemed to be. When you break up with a borderline, yes, it can be widely experienced that there's a lot of loneliness amongst a whole lot of other feelings, and maybe a deep loneliness, but that loneliness goes probably deeper after these relationship breakups in people with codependency, along with all the other feelings you're going to have with the breakup and what goes on for people sometimes for years after a discard or a breakup. Because if you don't do the healing work to heal the codependency, to do your inner child or family of origin work, then you can't break the trauma bond. So people are 2, 3, 4, 5, even 10 years. I've had some clients, 10 years out of these relationships. And it's still like it was yesterday that they broke up, because you need to break the trauma bond. And you can't do that by yourself. And you can't do that, by reading books and listening to videos only. People might think, and you might be making all kinds of effort, but it doesn't work. And don't forget, I had severe codependency in my life, among other challenges to heal from, as I did. Got to heal that codependency to break that trauma bond, because you got to know why you trauma bond. What are the dynamics? What is the pain inside of you from your childhood that created that trauma bond? Why did you stay, etc.? It's a way to answer so many questions. And it's so healing. It's the only way really to heal from these relationships. So this person, again, am I codependent? Can I still be a codependent if this, that, and the other thing? And then what, he described. Yes, I mean, can I say that 100% of people who've ever dated a borderline are codependent? No. But can I say that it's more likely and accurate that pretty much 100% of people who stay invested in a relationship after dating a borderline, seeing the first split of evaluation, all the red flags, maybe the first few dates you had, they were saying some things to you and like that felt really great, but they were also telling you about all the trauma of their past relationships, and there's this negativity and everybody else hurt them and there's such the victim. But when they're idealizing you hear that, and many people will say to me, clients have said to me over the years that they had inklings about that in the beginning, but it felt too good. They didn't pay attention. They just wanted it to work. But that comes back to haunt you later. That comes back to need to be dealt with in a healing recovery journey from the betrayal bonds, and the nature of these really unhealthy, losing yourself type relationships. And it just doesn't make sense. And even when I have clients who understand, and like I said, I'm out here, if I resonate with you, to work with you, the other thing I can offer you is detailed explanations. The more you tell me about the person with BPD in your life or the patterns, etc., I can answer all your questions. And I have lots of clients that will pepper me for an entire session with questions about why'd you do this, why the borderline that, why this, why that, why the, you know. Plus, then hopefully they don't just do one session and they come back and then we get to working, helping them, you know. I would help you focus on you as well. But I'm not somebody who says, oh, hey, you can't talk about your ex in your sessions, because if you want to work with me and you resonate with me, it's your time and you get to talk about whatever you want to talk about. And I'll be there to witness, to listen, to hear, to offer suggestions, and then maybe to help you gently at some point, to ask you if you want to focus on yourself a bit. We can go back and forth from focus on the borderline, focus on you, working in a healing and recovery process. The main message I try to deliver here, I hope you received, and it is that people that stay with people with BPD, beyond the inkling, the gut instincts, the doubts, the red flags, you're doing that because you have codependency. I don't know why people think that that's like a dirty word or a bad word. It isn't. It's not anything that's impugning you as a human being. It's just something that you need to understand, and it is the gateway of understanding and then getting in process working with someone that will help you to start to heal that, open that up and understand it, because many people have to get their family of origins out of themselves. Negative core beliefs, an inflamed inner critic, that you will be the hardest of all on yourself, no matter what a borderline or even a narcissist has done to you or is continuing to do to you. So I thought that this comment was really a good example of someone who is codependent and who struggled mightily, and who thinks that, well, because they prefer to deal with feelings a certain way, which is only going to be frustrated in any relationship with someone with BPD and cause you enormously even more pain. And then after, and the loneliness, but not just the loneliness, the cognitive dissonance, it's a trauma bond, and you're in it, and you might have felt stuck. Maybe, like some clients, I come to me and they're like, I've had it, that's it, you know, and what happened, and I still love her, and I still love, but I don't care, and I can't go back. And I've still seen some of them go back, right? And I don't judge. When I work with people, some people, they book 10 sessions with me, you know, and it's immediate what's going on, the pain, the breakup just happened, and then they go back. And what I say to people is, just leave those sessions on the books, go do what you got to do, because they come back. They come back. Because, as I've said in other videos, when you're recycling a relationship, after a split to devaluation, they ghost or discard you. And then like these Hoover things, reverse Hoover things, and next thing you know, you're hearing all this great stuff from them again you wanted to hear. Like I talked about in a video, beware the borderline of Hoovering, because they're telling you what you want to hear. And you want to hear it because you want to get out of the agony you're in now. After the chaos of the drama of the roller coaster of the borderline, who didn't see you and didn't hear you and experienced you, and really kind of, if there was any value to you, it's not about you, but for them, you were object of their parent representation in idealization. Good parent maybe never had, and in devaluation, you are the bad wounding parent. And that's exactly how, unconsciously, in their repetition compulsion cycles, they're treating you. But you're the one there getting what maybe one of their wounding parents does deserve, but you don't deserve it. And so I hope that this was helpful, because the way this commenter, and please do watch the other video first, I guess it's a little late to say that now, or maybe go watch it now to get the whole full feeling of how this commenter on 2 different videos of mine said very much, in a way, 2 really different things, but in the other video with the comment and what the commenter shared, the codependency to me would be obvious, was obvious. And then another comment is like, can I still be a codependent if, and not realizing. So I want you to realize this if you haven't realized it. Think about this. You want to talk about your feelings. You want them to understand you. You want to be heard and seen and valued. You want to matter. too. Not going to get that from a person with BPD patterns, person diagnosed with BPD, untreated, not well enough treated, they're still BPD. And then when you find that out, you don't leave. You can't stop. It's already a betrayal bond. It's already agony, and you're stuck up in it. And that happens when people do have codependency. So the other key thing to remember is, you can check out my codependency podcast. It's on this channel. Just go to the front page of this channel and go past playlist. The next menu thing in the top is podcast. And I haven't done a lot. I'm going to be doing more in the codependency podcast. But the first 7 or so episodes are just talking about all the different iterations, symptoms, if you will, traits, patterns of why people can still be codependent even if you don't have relate to all of the things that I've discussed in those podcast episodes. You only need to relate to one. You only need to have one that's true for you in your life. Seriously, most people have more than one sort of codependent trait or symptom, for lack of a better way to put it. But it only takes a few for you to end up in these relationships, get spit out the other end, lose yourself. If you had any self-esteem, because a lot of people, it's low self-esteem, low self-worth, part of codependency, something that wounded you in childhood, that leads you into these relationships too, but that's the unconscious part. And now, it's over or it's on off, and your esteem is gone if you had any. And your worth is gone, and you might not even feel like you're valuable at all in the horribleness of the pain and agony of the fresh BPD breakup, discard, or ghosting. And so it's really important that you realize it's the embracing of what codependency actually means. And I mean for you, each and every one of you as an individual in your life, because there's no one prototype, everybody's a codependent the same way. Not at all. Not to the same degree, not with the same sort of, quote, symptoms, traits of codependency. You need to stop selling yourself short because you think that codependency means you're weak or something. It doesn't. It means you have some woundedness you're carrying from childhood. For some people, that's hard to ascertain what it is. But it can be delved into. Could happen. It could have been something that hurt you in your teen years. Some unmet needs in childhood or teen years. Doesn't always have to be cluster B or really abusive parents. So the bottom line is I want you to think about embracing this concept and how does it apply to you. Codependency, not just a label. What does it actually mean? Click on my podcast, Codependency Podcast, button there on the front of this channel and listen. And I'll bet you anything, unfortunately, it's painful. You're going to relate to some of what I've talked about because I just go over it all. And there's going to be something in there. I might say 18, 20 things and you might be nope. But then the 19th and the 20th, yeah, I kind of do feel like that. Yeah, there's something to that. You'll feel it. So the bottom line is respect the word, but the more importantly, the what we now know and how we define codependency. Please respect what that really is, because it's really like a 95+% chance that that's how you got into this relationship unconsciously. You didn't know that at the time, that you met this most amazing man or woman who was idealizing you, and you didn't even understand that really wasn't all about you. And then you've been fighting, and this is a codependent thing to do, to change them, to get them back to who you thought they were. So you don't even know who you're loving anymore. Anyway, hope that was helpful. It's not great news, but the good news about that is, if you made it to the end of this video, if you can hear what I'm saying, if you're curious, if you resonate with me and want to work with me, you can start your healing and recovery journey the minute you decide to. Take care.